Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to the listening public, the wonderful people here on the island of Nevis, those on our beautiful sister island of St. Kitts, those in the wider Caribbean. Good evening to our friends and family in Caribbean places such as Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, Sabre, Statia. Good evening to our friends in Sunshine City, St. Martin, both in St. Martin and St. Martin. Good evening to you. Good evening to those in St. Bart's and the French-speaking islands, Guadeloupe, Martinique. Good evening to our friends in Rock City, St. Thomas, St. Croix, in St. John's, those in Tortola, British Virgin Islands, of course, Tortola, Virgin Gorda, Antigua, wherever you may be. Good evening to you. Good evening to our friends and family in the larger islands, those in Barbados, those, of course, who are in Trinidad and Tobago, those who are in Jamaica and Guyana, a larger country in the case of Guyana, and good evening to one and all. In the Windward Islands, I know we have listeners from Dominica, and of course, how could I forget my friends in Grenada, the land of spice. Grenada, if you're listening, good evening to you. I hope you had a great day in Grenada, and I am delighted to be here and trust and hope that you're listening and that you're locked into the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio, the voice of Nevis. 860 on your AM dial, www.vonradio.com. Now, we're here this evening for what we hope to be our final show for this year of our Lord 2021. It has been an interesting year. It has been a year where we have continued to be beset by the COVID-19 pandemic, this global pandemic, the first pandemic we've had in over 100 years. And it allows us an opportunity, I think, to reflect not only on our own lives and our own personal journey, but also to reflect on the journey that we have taken as an island and as a country. We have had, of course, tremendous difficulties, and I think the past 2 years can best be summed up as being traumatic for our people, both in terms of lives and livelihoods. We have lost lives here on the island of Nevis and in the wider Federation. I think here in Nevis we've lost 5 persons to COVID. On the wider Federation we've lost 28 total. We have had nearly 3,000 people who have suffered from COVID. Thankfully, all but 28 have recovered and recovered fully. Are we out of the woods? The answer is no. We must continue to be vigilant. We must continue to wear our masks. We must continue to practice physical distancing. We must continue to wash our hands with soap and water, to use hand sanitizer, and to do all the non-pharmaceutical measures that we were taught to combat COVID. We must continue to vaccinate. Vaccination has proven to be ultimately the best defense against COVID. And whilst I understand that there's some fatigue, people say to me all the time, why you continue to talk about vaccination? The reality is that until something better comes along, this is what we have, this is what the science suggests, is our best defense. And so I'm hopeful that we will continue to vaccinate. Here in Nevis, we have lagged behind the national average. We are now nationally, I think, at the mid-70 percentage range, which makes us the best and most successful vaccination program in English-speaking Caribbean. But of course, we must continue to press, because while we're talking about over 70% of our adult population, we still have a significant population which is unvaccinated, both in the context of our children, but also many adults who have simply refused. Many say they will, but they have not yet done so. Some are what we call anti-vaxxers, who are still denying the realities of COVID and the realities of the statistics, which show that vaccination, while it doesn't prevent you from getting COVID, it certainly limits the risks. It minimizes the risks of you getting COVID. And if you do get COVID, the science suggests that the symptoms, if there are any symptoms, are mild, that hospitalization is unlikely, and that death from COVID, if you're vaccinated, is highly unlikely. And I go no further than Nevis itself. Because of the 5 deaths that we have had, none were vaccinated. I think that bears repetition. Of the 5 deaths that we had in Nevis, none were vaccinated. And I think that speaks for itself, that fully 100% of those who have succumbed to this disease were unvaccinated. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I think the science is clear And despite the pontificating and the posturing that we have in various quarters, I think the science is still clear. And science is one of those things that obviously can give you some degree of certainty. And the statistics suggest that the vaccination still provides the very best protection. And so I continue to encourage our people, even as we look forward to Christmas, to go out and give that gift to themselves, that gift of protection for themselves and for their families. Let us not let our guard down. Let us not say that there is no COVID here now, because God has been kind to us and we have now very low cases. Let us be vigilant. The country has now opened up. We have removed the quarantine period. It means that people are coming, and they're coming in their numbers, it appears. The cruise ships are back. The barriers are down. The hotel guests are back. And they're moving around because there's no quarantine in place. We have insisted, of course, that if you come, you must be fully vaccinated, and you must come with a negative PCR test taken within the last 72 hours. But this disease has shown itself to be remarkably resilient. It has shown itself, in the words, I think it was Dr. Cameron Wilkerson who said, that it is the most clever disease. So it continues to transform itself. It continues to produce variants. And now, of course, we have Omicron, which is out there and which is causing some consternation. I reflected today, in fact, I said to a friend today, that we used to be regaled every morning with news of Delta. And we were told that Delta was the most deadly strain, that Delta was killing so many people. Now you don't hear anything about Delta anymore. Every channel you put on is Omicron, Omicron, Omicron. And that seems to be now the talking point. The evidence that we have, limited as it is at this point, seems to suggest that Omicron is certainly more contagious, but so far does not appear to be more deadly. But we have to be careful, because more contagious means that more people get in the disease. More people getting disease means that the risks of hospitalization are raised. And even if it doesn't lead to death, the problem that we've always been afraid of most is our health system being overrun. And we reflect that with the entire country having less than 200 available hospital beds, you could imagine what will happen if 300 or 400 people required hospital care. That is why we have invested through our diplomatic efforts with the United States. We now have 2 field hospitals, one in St. Kitts and one in Nevis. The one in Nevis has not yet been deployed because we have decided to stay our hand on deploying it until such time as there's a need. We hope we don't have that need, certainly not as a consequence of COVID. But I am to assure the public that we have been getting ourselves ready. But the public has its role to play. I know oftentimes we say that these things are the responsibility of government. And certainly government must take the lead. And government must take responsibility. Because when good comes, politicians love to jump up and say, it was I. When bad comes, we must equally be willing to jump up and say, it is I. Because the buck stops somewhere, and in my case as Premier of Nevis, the buck stops with me. You will not hear excuses from me. I will seek to explain when explanation is necessary, and I will always seek to do better, because that ultimately is the only way forward. Hearing excuses or running and dodging and hiding or saying it wasn't me, you will not hear those words from me. I will always tell you as it is, and I have made a career in politics thus far being a plain speaker, and that I shall continue to endeavor to do. Ladies and gentlemen, it is, as I say, our final show for the year. I want to start the show by thanking all of those from all across the region and the world who have listened, who have been a part of the On The Mark family for now nigh 15 years. Yes, nigh 15 years. When I first came here, I was but a boy with young features and black hair. Now look at me. I am grey. But we have grown together. We have learned together. And I think that it must say something about the quality of this show, that persons have stayed with us over these years. I have not been the only host, to be sure. I would want to specifically thank colleagues who have come time and time again. The Honorable Troy Liebert, in fact, hosted this show just last week in my absence. So too, we have had the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, all of whom have been willing to host at a simple request. And I thank them. I thank all the other hosts who have over the years assisted. Many people don't know that we had people like Edric Stanley who have hosted On the Mark in the past. Many people have hosted this show, all in an effort to keep it alive and keep it relevant and keep it current. And I'm delighted that after 15 years, our longevity speaks for itself, that we still have some relevance in the marketplace. And on a Wednesday night, from 8 to 10, we are still the place if you want to hear talk that really means something, talk that seeks to edify and to educate, talk that allows us to be the best that we can be. And I always say that we are a phenomenal people here in this small country. We have demonstrated time and time again that we punch well above our weight, and that in head-to-head comparisons with many other bigger countries and better resource countries, we are well ahead. I believe that St. Kitts and Nevis is on a good path. A path, I believe, that comes as a consequence of the resilience of our people. That stick-to-itiveness that we have always had as Kittitians and Nevisians, that hard work that has always defined us, that ambition that has always forced us to aspire to places bigger than the place of our birth, bigger than the size of the island, the geographic space into which we are born, the social strata into which we are born. And I believe that is as a consequence that so many of us, including myself, have got to where we are. Because who would have thought of the unlikely of a boy born on 4 stones in Hanley's Road, a little chattel house with the outhouse up the lane and a galvanized shed that you took a bath in at mornings to go to school. Who would have thought that a boy who in mornings went across to the land there that belonged to his Aunt Elise to look for mangoes and scoured Archer Henley's estate to see what he could find, whether it was sugar apple or guavas or whatever else was on offer, that you spent summers trying to eke out an existence. Who knows what it is to wear a bib? And I'm not talking about a bib that goes around your neck for babies. I'm talking about something we used to call a bib. I hope I have it right, that it was a bib that we used to go and pick cotton. And let me tell you, picking cotton is back-breaking work. I used to go with my Aunt Elise to pick cotton. And I used to do something else. I used to pound stones. Young people don't know what that is. I used to get a very heavy hammer and you pound stones, because in those days the construction industry would buy buckets of stones from you, pound stones. And so we used to do that to earn a few pennies. And that was how we lived. Who would have thought that a boy who walked up the road at mornings at 5 to catch water at market shop and had his little gallon pan, as we call it, which was a paint tin, and he carried his water back down, walked 2 miles up the road, catch water, walk 2 miles back home in Scarborough to bathe, cold water in that galvanized shed, and then to walk back up 2 miles to go to school, chapel school as it was, and then walk back again 2 miles down the road, went and people mango tree to try and get something to eat. That was life then. And who would have thought that that boy could one day be the Premier of Nevis? I want people to reflect on that, because oftentimes we spend all of our time lamenting. We spend all of our time saying how bad things are with us, how not now go on for us, how difficult it is, and nobody has promised anybody a bed of roses. No. And I'm not here seeking to lecture anyone, because I've had my fair share of assistance from others. I've had my fair share of good fortune and God's blessings. But the improbable journey of so many of us, and I'm not unique in that regard, the improbable journey of so many of us from whence we have come to where we are now should inspire all of us that we are able, we are capable, and we could do it also. You know, many years ago, when I was at the Faculty of Law at the University of the West Indies at the Cayville campus in Barbados, when some of the best and the brightest were gathered studying law, and there were times when I doubted myself. I said, what am I doing here? I am not up to scratch. I don't have the caliber. I don't have the academic caliber to compete successfully with the best from Barbados and Jamaica and Trinidad and Bahamas and Guyana. And always in me there was a little voice who said, listen, Others have done it, and so can you. Others have done it, and so can you. So the long nights of study, the difficult days, trying to juggle all that you had to juggle to try to stay on top of the material. Others have done it, and so can you. And I've always been motivated by that. That all it requires really is your application, hard work. Yes, sometimes you get a break in life and other times you don't get that break. And I understand that. But stick to it. Stick at it. And never tell yourself that it is beyond you. Never tell yourself that somehow, oh, me come from Barnesgut, so them things are not for me. Oh, me come from Henley Park, so them things are not for me. No. You must tell yourself that anything that you wish to desire, anything to which you aspire, you can achieve. And you must work with that mindset. I used to remember, I believe it was a CSS to say, aim for the sky and you'll reach the stars. Was it that? Yes, I think so. Aim for the sky and you'll reach the stars. Bottom line is this. We are capable. When we look at how we've handled the COVID-19 pandemic, I was at a little cafe in Charlestown having a coffee some weeks ago. And a couple, looks to me to be what we call expats, a white couple. They came in, they sat. I did not know that they knew who I was because I was there on my phone and having my coffee. And then as I was finished and got up to pay and to leave, the gentleman said, Mr. Premier, can I say something to you? And I said, of course. And I went over and said hello. And he said, my wife and I would just like to commend you and the government on how you have handled COVID. He said, we are coming from the UK. And you have done a far more remarkable job here than most of the governments in Europe have done. In fact, most of the governments in the world have done. And sometimes you take those comments just in stride. You say thank you and you go about your business. But at other times when you're on your own and you are consumed with your thoughts and you have an opportunity to reflect, and you reflect that here is someone coming from the outside with those eyes that oftentimes are perhaps a bit clearer than those who are on the inside and are constantly want to criticize. Here's someone from the outside saying that you have handled in this little island and in this little country a global 100-year pandemic, a phenomenon that the world has not seen in a century, and you have handled it better, in the opinion of that gentleman and his spouse, than many governments in Europe. And you consider for a moment the size of Europe, the resources that are available to Europe, the scientific capacity, the personnel, the money, the manufacturing, all of the development that Europe has. And you compare that to little St. Kitts and Nevis, and more importantly, tiny little Nevis. And here's someone saying, we commend you for what you have done. And that is why I keep saying to our people that we should not doubt ourselves. I do not say this to say that we should be arrogant, that we should be haughty or proud, but we should not doubt ourselves. And too often we are being told, and I know a lot of Nevisians will identify with this, because Nevis people, a lot of times we are told as Nevisians, you can't be this and you can't be that. That is above you. Don't hang your hat where you can't reach it. That's something that I used to hear when I was a boy. Don't hang your hat where you know you can't reach it. And I said to myself, thank God. Because if it wasn't for hanging our hats where we can't reach it, we would never reach anywhere. Hang your hat as high as you can go and climb. And that is my advice to our young people especially. Let no man limit you. Let no man decide for you what your ambitions should be. Aspire. Aspire, and you shall achieve. And so I hope that the lives of so many of us will inspire others and let them know that they can do it too. That if you are today without the trappings of wealth, if you are today without the beautiful home and the beautiful car, if you have to catch the bus, or even if you have to walk to school, tell yourself others have done it also. And others have succeeded in spite of it, or some may say because of it. But others have succeeded. And if others have succeeded, you can succeed as well. Now, we have had an interesting year. A year, I think, that despite the COVID pandemic, which I shall put aside for the moment, has allowed us an opportunity really to test the quality of leadership. And that, of course, is for historians, and in my case as a politician, it is for the electorate. It is always dangerous in any endeavor to mark your own paper. And a lot of us engage in self-praise, and we say, I am the greatest. But your public may not agree with you at all, and history may not be kind to you. So I said, do your best and allow history and allow the electorate, in my case as a politician and in the case of other politicians, to determine. I believe the voice of the people is the voice of God. In an election, that has always been the case. And in proven mature democracies such as ours, the voice of the people is the voice of God. Now I hear people all the time who say they're pundits. When the people have not responded to whatever analysis they have put forward, they resort to cursing the people and say the people don't know what they're doing. And I think it is it's a really interesting thing that you can be so arrogant as an individual that you put your opinion politically ahead of that of the people. So 60%, 65% of the people say this is what they want. You are in that minority who says this is not what you should have. And you say the people are wrong. The people chup it. The people don't know what they do. The people are easily fooled. And I regret that that is a level of condescension, a level of insult, if you will, to our electorate. You see me, I say the people in an election, free and fair election, are always right. So whether they choose to vote for Mark Brantley or they choose to vote for Buster, they're right. And if they see that Buster offers them the hope, the ideas that will take the country forward, they're right. I am not going to engage in any denigration of the voting public. I'm not going to say people chup it or people easily fooled. What do you mean people easily fooled? I don't understand it. I heard someone who is a recently minted politician, who as far as I know has always been one of my strongest supporters, now decrying and saying I'm the worst thing in the world, worst thing that has ever happened. And that is fine. Every one of us is entitled to change our minds. But as I listen further, I hear comments like, oh, people only vote to he because he could talk good. He eloquent. That's why people vote to he. And oh, he engage in all kind of shenanigans during elections. A lot of people to be paid for their vote. And reflect at the juxtaposition that prior to the grand announcement of recent vintage, this individual was a strong supporter of mine. Whatever the grouse, whatever the discontent, and we will get to that in time, I'm sure, the individual now says, I no longer support you, and that is fine. But why now go down that road? Because if you were a strong supporter yesterday, and today you seek to denigrate me by saying that my supporters are easily swayed by eloquence and by the proper use of Her Majesty's language, English. You say that I have lots of money and that is what sways people. Then I must ask the question rhetorically, well, what swayed you? Because just yesterday you were very swayed. I must ask that question because it's a logical question to ask. Or is it that you're saying that everybody else is so foolish that they're swayed by nice sounding words and they're swayed by money and they're swayed by all kinds of things, but you and you alone were not swayed by those things? But what were you swayed by? I wonder. Because now you say you're swayed no more. So this is why I say, listen, if we're going to have a political debate in the country, let us have a meaningful debate. Let us talk about development. Let us talk about models of development. Let us talk about the sharing of the citizenship by investment proceeds. Let us talk about St. Kitts and Nevis and how we better the relationship as we move forward as a single country. Let us talk about constitutional reform. Let us talk about crime. Let us talk about healthcare reform, health insurance, universal health insurance. Let us talk about how we protect our non-established workers, our auxiliary workers. Let us talk about proper job training and education. Are we educating our children so that they're fit for purpose for the type of economy that we have? Let us talk about economic diversification. How do we move away from the dependence on the monocrop that is tourism? That is debate that is meaningful. But instead of that, people are so easily distracted. I assure you that if I were to wake tomorrow and say, I have now, as a pre-Christmas present, got the most fantastic pair of socks, and my socks rock, oh my goodness, that'll be screenshot 100 times and sent around, because that is how easily some who posture and say they have something to offer the country are distracted. I recall one day being at home and deciding that I would go into my freezer and see what was there, and I found 2 lobsters that I had bought, and I want to emphasize that because it goes to the point that I'm making. And I cooked the lobsters, and of course I have this little thing I do for entertainment because cooking relaxes me, and I put up something on cooking the lobsters and I say, men can cook. And I saw a barrage of cussing from a young man, and he said, I have no sympathy with people because I'm home eating lobster and some people can't afford to eat. And while in one breath that seems to sound, yeah, this man really has no sympathy with people. First of all, as one other friend commented to me, there's nothing really special about lobster at all, because with the hotels closed in particular, to use a local parlance, they were banging dog in Nevis. But more importantly, the reason that I emphasize that I bought those 2 lobsters is that when I reflected, I said, but if people did not buy what the fishermen caught, how would the fishermen live? Let that sink in for a moment. And then I did my research, and it turns out the person I bought the lobsters from is the commentator's family. So here's the commentator abusing me and seeking to heap odium and contempt upon me because I showed that I was cooking 2 lobsters. And oh, I have no sympathy with poor people because I'm eating lobsters, but I buy the lobsters from his family now. You hear me? And because people like me and others, especially in the context of the hotels being closed, are willing to go out and support our local fisher folk, support our local farmers, we get castigated for that. That is the oddity, if you will, the peculiarity of some of what passes for public debate. And so 2021 has been an interesting year. It has been a year where we see the opposition party, Nevis, the Nevis Reformation Party, that they have come out and they say it's all about women power. They have 4 female candidates that they've announced, and they've announced as well a male candidate. I was about to say a sacrificial lamb, but let me stick with gender. 4 female candidates and a male candidate. And they have gone on and on about women and women's power. And I have absolutely no difficulty. Women are powerful. I was raised by a woman. Women have raised and continue to raise children, many single-handedly. We have, not just in St. Kitts but across the region, a family structure that is dominated by women. And so women being powerful and women knowing how to do things, I remind people that I graduated from the Norman Manley Law School in 1994. And when I graduated, if memory serves, there was some, I believe it was 88 of us, 10 men and 78 women. 1994. So, when people talk about women, women have and continue to be empowered. Now, certainly not enough women are represented in politics, particularly in elected politics. And there may be a number of reasons for that. That is not for me. And so anytime a woman steps forward and says, I'm going to get involved in politics, I welcome that. But what I found curious is that these who say that they're now the champions for women, we had the appointment of a young woman from Barnesgut as a special advisor to the Premier on community matters. And the furor that was created, one of the women, listen me carefully, one of the women who's a candidate for the NRP, who collectively say that they are about empowering women, referred to this young lady as a Barbie doll. That stuck with me, because I said to myself that as much as we hear the complaint that men are somehow the persons who block and prevent, here was a woman who claimed that she was part of a team set to promote women, referring to another woman because that other woman is perceived as being on the opposite team as a Barbie doll. And then they went on to make all kinds of insinuations and disparaging. It was a horrible display of attack on a young woman. The young woman has not even been announced as a candidate. But that did not stop the Nevis Reformation Party. And I wonder sometimes if it is something in the DNA of NRP. Because I know so many people, hitherto decent people, who have gone in, and the minute they're gone in, they get green with envy, green with spite, green with bad mind. I don't understand how they get so. It's like you have to take some special oath, you drink some special water, there's a special brew that you must consume, and once you consume that, to become NRP, you must become nasty in how you deal with people, and I don't understand why. Why? You know, this thing went so far that in the context of COVID and the vaccination, there were people who said them not take no vaccine for Mark Brantley. You think I'm joking? I'm not joking. They will not take any vaccine for Mark Brantley. That is a level where in our country, I as Premier would have sat with the leader of NRP, I sat with the lone elected member of NRP, had what I thought was an excellent meeting, a free exchange of ideas, begged them, could you partner with the government on the vaccination effort? Them write a letter, said, not them. Tal. We will not partner with the government on any vaccination effort. What more you want than that? Life and death. Up and down the world, people are getting together to fight this. You know why? It's a simple reason. Whether you're male or female, whether you're child, you're young or old, child or adult, whether you're NRP or CCM, Republican or Democrat, Labour or PAM, it really does not matter. COVID doesn't come and knock and say, Mr. William, who you be? Mr. William, you support which party? No. When COVID comes, COVID comes. And so when people will refuse to join in an effort that ought to be an effort to save lives and to save livelihoods. And I knew the strategy, and that is why I say, God is a good God. God is a loving God. And even those of us, and I put myself in that bracket, who do not deserve it, God is still kind and merciful to us. Because his strategy appeared to have been, oh, let the island run amok. Let COVID take over. Let the hospital and the healthcare system be overrun. And then they will say, oh, Mark Brantley has done a bad job. CCM has done a terrible job. Let's change the government. I tell you all the time, when I was a young politician, there was a gentleman whom I used to speak to. And he said that he was offering some advice to me. And he said to me, at the time I had this show, and I used this show to articulate different views on matters affecting our people. I never used this show just to criticize. I always sought to criticize and to offer an alternative. So if they came and they said they were taxing people at 20%, I would come and I said, I don't like the tax, but if you're going to do the tax, do it at 10. And these are the reasons. To me, that is what an effective opposition ought to do. And the chap accosted me one day, an older chap, somebody I had tremendous respect for, and he says, you must stop it. When you go on the radio, you're giving the government ideas. And I said, what do you mean? I'm the vision. If I say that the road should go this way and not that way, and the government sees value in what I say, that's a good thing. I said, no, you're in opposition. Your job is not to give the government any ideas. And then the person said to me like that, if you see a big boat coming into the pier in Charlestown, and it's coming too fast, and it's going to mash up the pier, what are you going to do? I said, what do you mean what I'm going to do? I'm going to bawl out and tell them, stop the boat, you're going to mash up the pier. He said, you're a stupid fella. You must let them mash up the pier, and then you fix it back. When you get in, you fix it back. And I have reflected on that over the years. Because a lot of our people think that way. Mash it up. Make it look bad. Make it look terrible. And then the electorate will put us there. And we will try to fix it back. That, to my mind, is not a sensible approach at all. I think the better approach is for the electorate to have confidence in you because you have come with ideas. And if it is that you come with an idea and the government implements that, well, wonderful. You say, I'm already demonstrating leadership because, look at it, the government didn't know how to do it and I provided them the solution. But so many of us are so myopic, short-sighted. We can't understand, so we go out with the constant kerfuffle. All this noise and fury, sound and fury. Trying to bamboozle people, try to fool off people. All this vexedness all of a sudden. And when all the vexedness is assessed and the layers are stripped away, you realize it's just personal thing. Have nothing at all to do with Nevis or the benefit of divisions. Personal thing. Wherever personal business you have, you're going to deal with that personally. You can't expect the electorate to follow you down a rabbit hole. And that is, I believe, something important that we must note. The level of debate has to be such that it informs, it educates, it uplifts, and it provides a genuine alternative. Now, it was on Sunday, I believe, an historic day here in our country. Because on Sunday, we officially opened what is now known and we hope will forever be known as the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. I must tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that it fills my heart with pride every time I drive by. And I invite all of you to take a moment, Sunday afternoon after church or Saturday, to take your families and to go and enjoy that facility. I am immensely proud of what we have achieved there at Pinnis. I don't know if you remember it the way I remember it, but it used to be a grazing ground for cattle and animals. Sometimes people would park there. The grass was overgrown. The place was swampy. And we have, with the assistance of our dear friends, the Republic of China and Taiwan, invested in that facility just about $3 million US. And not only delivered a first-class facility, an environmentally friendly facility, but we delivered it on time and on budget in a COVID-19 pandemic. Remarkable by any stretch of the imagination. And yes, on Sunday we had torrential rains all day. But as so many people commented, we ought not to look at it as bad weather. It was a blessing. That Jehovah God was looking down and saying, I'm going to bless this little island. I'm going to bless this event. I'm going to bless this park. I'm going to bless the efforts of these people who have, despite the naysayers, despite the natural neighbors of extreme negativity, have consistently performed for the island of Nevis. And I believe that that facility and the entire area there now will become a hub of entertainment. Now I saw what I would call an asinine comment, nonsensical comment from again one of these political wannabes. Just come last shower rain, even though they are now pensionable. And the person say, oh, them are open park and the park now create no job. I said to myself, this is what passes for commentary. The open park and the park now create no job. The park is intended to add to something that might elude some people, but it's called the quality of life. The quality of life. The ability for our people to take pride in this that has been constructed, the natural flora and fauna, to go there to relax, to enjoy their time, enjoy themselves, to take their families and know that their children are playing in a safe environment. I do not understand this notion that we ought not to invest because the investment is not creating jobs. So after a hard week of work, going to a place for leisure with your family doesn't add something to the quality of life in the country. And I often say, if people have nothing to say, they should sometimes just say nothing. That's a fine result, you know. Because I remember reading somewhere that it is okay for persons to think you're a fool. That's all right. But for you to open your mouth and prove them correct, that's a bad thing. So the point that I'm making is that if you have nothing good to say about the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park, if you have no commendation to give, that's okay. Stay quiet. Because a lot of what you're trying to manufacture is really nonsense. Somebody called me, for example, and they say, oh, we didn't invite any NRP people to the opening. I'm like, what is this? We didn't invite any NRP people? So NRP people are not in the visions? Because I recall we said we wanted all of Nevis there. In fact, we said we wanted all of St. Christopher as well. And many from St. Kitts braved the inclement weather to come. And, of course, scores of people from Nevis also braved the inclement weather to come. I want to especially thank His Excellency, our Governor General, Sir Tapley Seaton, because he made it to the opening ceremony. I want to thank people like Sam Conda, who came over from St. Kitts and was there for that ceremony. I want to thank people like Franklin Brand, Kitty Herbert, the Honorable Vance Emery, and persons such as those who were part of the cabinet who served with Malcolm Gishard, and all of them came and were there to be a part of this ceremony. And I am truly grateful that Malcolm's widow, Yvonne Gishard, that she accepted with such grace this gesture, small as it was, but something in lasting memory of the immense contribution made by Malcolm Gishard. I was grateful to see my brother Doc Gishard, who traveled with his family from New York to be here, Malcolm's brother. See Mignon Wade and her family. To see all of those who gathered. And it was a surreal moment, because it was a moment of joy, a moment of accomplishment. And yet there was a twinge of sadness, because here was the vision of someone being realized, but that someone not being here physically to realize that vision with us. At one point I saw Yvonne bow her head, and I know it was emotional for her. But Yvonne, if you're listening, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because when I called you and I told you this is what the cabinet was thinking, you readily agreed. And we could have found no better name to put on that facility than the name of Malcolm Gishard. And I'm pretty sure, as I said in my brief remarks, that Malcolm was smiling down upon us. That big broad smile that was his signature, his trademark. And I am truly grateful to his family for having lent him to us and for his incredible contribution. I made the point then, and I make it now again, that Malcolm's DNA, his fingerprints, are on every facet of development on the island of Nevis. If you talk about infrastructure, you must mention Malcolm. If you talk about tourism, you must mention Malcolm. If you talk about housing, you must mention Malcolm. Every facet of our development, Malcolm Gishard has touched. And that park certainly was his brainchild. Yes, of course, my government had to go out and design it. We had to find the funding and we had to execute it. But it all starts with an idea, and the idea was his. And that is why we decided, and I believe that the public agrees, that it ought to be named for Malcolm. And so we are grateful to have done that. Ladies and gentlemen, I have perhaps been overly long with my soliloquy. It is 10 minutes to the hour of 9 o'clock. Of course, we're here until 10 o'clock, and this is our final show. I'm sure that persons may want to call, to send greetings, to greet loved ones. I want to comment on how happy I am that so many divisions have been home. Some are still here, some are coming in, and our hotels are bursting at the seams. Praise be to God. I am told by the Four Seasons that they're full and that their room rates are exceptional this year. I'm hopeful, of course, that that translates into jobs, into a rejuvenation of our economy. And one of the stories I heard from the Four Seasons was that they were calling back many of their workers who had been laid off, and quite a few were saying that no, they're not coming back because they've either found alternative work or they started their own business. And I was touched by that, because again, it paints a different picture to the picture that you keep hearing about not now go on and the place dead and nothing is happening. And that is why I like to say ignore the noise, because sometimes when I hear what people are saying and I see the reality of what is happening, there is a serious disconnect. A serious disconnect. You know, somebody called me, I don't have the numbers, but before I open the lines, let me say this last thing. We had the VAT days, VAT off days, VAT reduction days last week, Friday and Saturday. And somebody called me from one of the leading companies here on the island. And you know what the young lady said to me? Mr. Brantley had taught them, say, Nevis people not got no money. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she said, she has never seen, and she's been working here for a long time, that level of activity, the level of buying and the level of people coming in. And she said she could not believe it, coming out of a pandemic. Yet you hear the constant lamentation about how all of the people in Nevis living in poverty and all of them below the poverty line and things so bad, people can't eat, people are dead hungry in Nevis. But on that Friday and that Saturday, the commentary that I got was that the numbers between TDC and Hosfords, I think they're still doing the tallying, but I think when the total is done, it will be over 40 vehicles was sold in those 2 days. 40 on Nevis. I'm sure double or triple that would have been sold on St. Kitts, but just let's focus on Nevis, coming out of a pandemic. So a lot of times when you hear people, and don't get me wrong, I am not here to say that everybody is doing well. In no country in the world is everybody doing well. I have traveled, and I challenge all of us to travel to Washington, D.C. And I've been to Washington, D.C. The reason I single out Washington, D.C. because it is the capital of the most powerful nation the world has ever known. The richest nation that the world has ever known. And when I went to Washington, D.C. and I saw people sleeping on the bridges and people curled up in storefronts, curled up in the entranceway of stores in winter, and I reflected that this was the richest and most powerful nation in the world had poor people. When you look at the Bible, even in the time of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, there were poor people. And yet now you have some who in their public commentary suggest to you that if there are pockets of poverty in the country, if there are people who are not doing as well as we all would like them to do, that means that there's a failure on the part of government. And I said to you now, tonight, point me to the country. Point me to the country. The only countries that I have heard of that even approach anything where all their people are well off, so to speak, are countries like the United Arab Emirates and countries like maybe Norway, and those countries that have huge sovereign funds because they have had, of course, the benefit of oil and other natural resources that they've exploited. But point me to the Caribbean nation, our largest and most powerful neighbor, the United States of America. Point me to Latin America. Point me to Europe. So are we working and must work assiduously to reduce poverty? Absolutely. Must we continue to look out for those who require a safety net in our country? Absolutely. But please do not use that as a battering ram and to overstate the situation by suggesting to us who live here, work here, see what is happening here, are on the ground here, that somehow we have such widespread poverty and hunger here that everybody, Tutmun Samambagai here, did hungry. We must stop it. Stop trying to cry down our island and say the worst things about our island, because there's no truth to it. And when I marvel that people come here and love it so much, people come here, people are moving to Nevis, you know. I went to a particular establishment tonight before I came here, and the persons working at the establishment, working there, are Caribbean brothers and sisters, not from Nevis, but who have moved here looking for a brighter future for themselves and their families, just as we moved to St. Martin, and we moved to the Virgin Islands, and we moved to the United States, and we moved in the Windrush generation and after to the United Kingdom. People move around to try and find a better life. And when we see people flocking into Nevis, where do you think they're coming for? Poverty? They're coming to death for hungry? And those of you who are here in Nevis and seeking political office and saying that you're public commentators and you are the brightest bulb in the room, your only message to Nevisians is how all are we dead hungry. Nevis got the most poverty. Nevis got the worst of everything. But people from outside Nevis are flocking to Nevis. You know why? Because they see hope. They see an island that is progressing They see a government that is receptive, progressive, that has policies that embrace people, not push people away. And that, I think, is of fundamental importance. Conrys Maynard, King Conrys has a song, say, "Son about show me your trophy." And I think that that is important. When I look across the landscape of this island and I see what my party in government has been able to accomplish. Say, show me your trophy. I see what Vance Emery as leader and Malcolm and Kitty and all of those who were involved in the transformation. Oh Lord, Nurse Jean. When I look at all that they have done. Flamboyant home. A lot of things people take for granted. Flamboyant home. Took the care of our elderly to the next level in this country. And I say in the country, because there's no place like it in the entire country. The Vance Emery Airport, yes, it has had its difficulties, but the transformation that occurred out there. A few days ago, somebody sent me a video of a large jet landing over there, and I said, that's good. We will be coming to you soon with some good news about what we're doing over there. When I look at the water taxi pier and how that has transformed into island commerce and activity, and the number of water taxi operators that have popped up, 100% Nivision owned and Nivision business at this point, an investment in them, Blue Wave and Plug Eye Islander, we have invested in them. When I look at the Newcastle police station, the Lawrence and Perry facility in agriculture, when I look at the 35 acre fruit farm at Indian Castle, you look around this island, you look at the investment. When you say show me your trophy, Eric Eveling and say, well, look at the Arthur Freeman Center up there in Gingerland at the market shop. Look at what he has done up there. It's so big and bold now. They had Culture Arm up there this year. Look at what is happening. Look at VOJ and Playfield. Look at the Brownhill Playfield. Look around Nevis, see what is going on. Look at the Mondo track. When I pass that Mondo track, especially at nights when it is lit, and I went over there the other night and they were playing football on the pitch that it was intended for. That was all part of the plan. And Sinkit's teams came up to play football on that pitch, and my heart was glad, because I said hitherto they would have had to be playing on dirt. Here they had a proper facility to play on. Our children now don't need to run barefoot on grass anymore. They have a proper IAAF certified track to run on. Show me your trophy. We look at Pinnis Park, a shining example of partnership, a shining example of friendship, an ode to the environment. Show me your trophy. Look at the roads. You drive through Brownhill now, you feel like you're on a highway. You drive down Henley Park, you feel you're on a highway. You drive through Braziers, you drive up Shaw's Road, you drive on the Island Main Road. I have some family that are visiting right now from Grenada, and the comment that my brother-in-law made, he said, oh, the roads here are so beautiful. He said, man, I could cycle here so easily. I mean, that is Nevis. Those are what we can point to. I'm not even getting into the private sector development. I'm not even getting into the fact that in the height of a pandemic, we were able to have four feature films made here on the island of Nevis. 4. And you say continually, not now happen, not now happen, not now happen. And you have this refrain, but it does not have any resemblance to reality. And I believe if you know better, you must do better. My soliloquy, as I say, has gone on now for an hour. And I'm feeling energized. I find since I took that booster, since I got that Pfizer booster, you know, I mean, I'm really energized. Really energized. Mind is clear. Everything is working fine. And I believe that you should go out and get that shot. It really, really adds to your quality of life. It gives you that vim, vigor, and vitality. And so, at 1 minute past the hour of 9 o'clock, I'm going to open the phones. The numbers are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. I know it's Christmas time. I've been talking. I have no idea whether anybody has even been listening or anybody's tuned in this evening. But I'm hopeful that my fans are still here. The fans of the show are here, and that you will call in and you will share your views and opinions and put your issues on the table. And if it is that you simply want to give your family some Christmas greetings, this is an opportunity, because this is the final show for this year 2021. Again, the numbers to call, if you're so minded, are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Let's go to the phones and take some calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Miss Sheriff, good night. How are you doing?
Well, I am...
Season's greeting to you.
I feel so good to hear your voice. How are you?
Well, I'm giving God thanks.
Great.
Luke 2, verse 18, 19, and 20. And all they that heard it wondered at those things which were told them by the shepherds. But Mary kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. And the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things that they have heard and seen, as it was told unto them. Good night. Season's greeting going out to culture over there in St. Kitts. And sympathy is going out to all who lose their loved one. Mark me agree with you, the booster good. And up and rising. See you. Good night.
Thank you very much for that. It is a few minutes after 9. I think 3 or 4 minutes, and we're taking your calls. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. I'm really happy that that caller called, because for many years she has been our first caller. Anytime the lines are open, she's often the number one person to call, the first person to call. And she always has a scripture of her choosing. And I have never ever once had a conversation with her about you should do this or you should do that. But I do know, caller, that many people are uplifted because you have taken it upon yourself to make your little contribution by reading a scripture on this show each Wednesday. And I thank you for that. I thank you for being with us for all these 15 years. And I thank you for your contribution. I want to wish you a wonderful Christmas season, and I hope to see you before Christmas Day. So I'll have to make that effort. But thank you from the bottom of my heart for your contribution and for being really one of our top contributors to this show and to the life and times of Nevis. I believe when our history is written, people will say that there was this caller who called every week and read a scripture of her choice for the benefit of us all. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It is 5 minutes past the hour and we're taking calls. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night. Good night, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
How are you?
I am fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm fine. I am blessed. You know, I love you. This is your friend from St. Kitts Dumpling.
Oh, my goodness. How are you, my dear?
Oh, I'm lovely. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine. All the best for the season and the new year when it comes. And don't let nobody stress you out. You understand me? Just believe in God.
Thank you.
And God will carry you through. I love you, Mr. Brantley. And I want to pick up my Nevis friend. She said she don't work by the school. She's my friend, a lady I met down in St. Kitts. She know who I mean, I just call her Nevis lady.
Uh-huh.
You understand? And all my family in Nevis, and my sweetheart, thin man, from Handleswood.
How much sweetheart you have? You're getting me jealous now, you know?
Well, you only from Handleswood, I'm from over there. So,
Right,
you ain't gonna be jealous. He's from down Handleswood, you know him. Thin, climb up the antenna.
Yeah, man.
You know him?
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Okay.
Mhm.
Love you.
All right, love you too, and have a wonderful Christmas, okay?
Oh, yes.
All right, thank you. All right, that's my dear friend from Sink, is known to all as Dumpling, and she's calling in, I think, to wish all of us a wonderful Christmas season. We continue to take your calls at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Now, we are in the Christmas season, and as I often say, that we get caught up sometimes with the decorations and the lights. We get caught up with the gifts, and many people are particularly caught up with the receiving of gifts. And we should reflect, I feel, that Christmas really signifies the birth of Jesus Christ. And we should reflect on why Jesus Christ was born. Jesus Christ wasn't born because somebody wanted to have a baby. Jesus Christ was born because of a divine plan, and that plan was that he would be born and be made into human flesh so that he could then die, and through his death provide a ransom for our sins. And so when you reflect on Christmas, it really is the ultimate gift, because here we had Jesus being sent to earth to be born in human flesh, to grow and then to die, to be sacrificed for our sins, and to give us hope of redemption. And you reflect and you say, well, which of us would be willing to sacrifice our son, our only begotten son? Which of us would be willing to give that gift to others so that we can give others life even as our own child's life is taken? And so for me, Christmas is really not about receiving, but about giving. Christmas is about how we make each other feel. Christmas is about remembering that we have a responsibility to others. That whilst I know we are busy drinking and carousing and eating and cooking ham and turkey and whatever else we can find, that we ought to remember our neighbor, especially in this difficult time of COVID, who may not have done as well as us, who may on Christmas Day not have the capacity to have a proper meal, that we remember each other. And so rather than being focused on what we are going to get, children, rather being focused on what gifts you're going to get this year, maybe you have something that you're not using, some gift you got that you didn't quite like, or even a gift that you love most, that you could rewrap it and give it to your neighbor's child, your friend down the road, who you know whose family is not in a position to give them gifts for Christmas. I want the kind of Nevis. And every Christmas I pray that it is for us a new beginning, a renaissance, if you will, in terms of how we interact with each other. That we have the kind of Christmas where we look out for each other. You're making sorrel, make a little and give it to somebody too. You're cooking a pot of rice. For my Grenadian friends, you're cooking a big pot of oil down. Pass some over the fence. Let us truly become an island where we are our brother's keeper and our sister's helper. And I think we can do it. We can do it if only we focus on why we have this celebration of this thing called Christmas. Some say it's a pagan holiday. Some say that Christ was not born on the 25th of December. But I say it perhaps doesn't matter. What matters is the sentiment that informs this celebration. Whether it was being held in August or held in December, it really doesn't matter. it forces us to focus on the reason for Christmas, why it came about, and the fact that Jesus came ultimately to save us all and to give us all the hope of redemption. That really is what Christmas is about. And if we have in our hearts and our minds what the real purpose is, then I don't think there's a need for all the shopping frenzy and the craziness that we see. We must, I believe, focus and refocus our attention on each other. And I think we can do it. I really do think that we can do it. Let me go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
I don't want you to come back to the phone. I want you to come front. Good evening, Doc.
Good evening, my brother. How are you? Good to hear your voice.
Yes, man, I'm good. I'm good here. Well, Merry Christmas season greetings to everybody in Nevis and in the wider diaspora who listens to your program every Wednesday. Whether you're here, there, or not here, your program continues and everybody enjoys it. Now, Brother Mark, I've been listening to you all night. And I digested a lot of things that you said. Now, just now, this little conversation that you had here. I mean, look at little innocent Jesus. Look where his mother had to go and find a place to born he. And the hair in the cattle pen. And wicked King Herod, Jesus not do him nothing, you know. He's sending a sword to see if they find Jesus to kill him. So if King Herod, a king he is, he got everything, and he wanted to kill little Jesus. What to say people like you and I, and QT? I mean, we are so insignificant on this earth here, and people still look at us and want to slaughter us. I am calling on everybody from now on, especially Little Nevis and St. Kitts, because we so small, and the political argument is bigger than us. The country, according to the Calypso, country running good, and those people who wanted to sit down in the chair where you are, and the Prime Minister is, they see the country running good, everything going good, so how can you go fix something that is not broken or spoiled? So they're going to find all kind of malicious things to malign the country, to malign the leaders of the country, say all bad man of things. Now suppose the country now should have to turn around tomorrow, and who running the country now is in the opposition. All of a sudden, all what they were saying ain't no good, it come good. They should look at that before you study and look for a weak spot to choke it, and a big hole created and you mash up everything. Come and give suggestions to the government who are leading, just like you said. A big ship coming into the pier, and because you want to get into office, you could ball out and stop the captain, tell them stop the ship. You're gonna start up and say, let you come in and mash them up. Okay, with the ship mash it up, the government gone, and you come in tomorrow. What you got to do now? You ain't got to go to the same people them who you were telling don't support the government who are doing good and build the pier. You got to go back to them to look money to build back a pier when you could have stopped it. So just like you said, you know, I mean, stop telling lies, stop trying to mislead people for no reason. You ain't gonna watch you nothing, because look at it. It take 9 months. 9 months for a person to bond, you know. And boom, less than a second, they dead. So the whole 9 months wasted if they didn't make no good use of it on the earth. And all who saying they not take no vaccine for Mark Brantley, and they not take no Mark Brantley for Timothy. One thing I got to ask them, you know, if they ever see a coffin outside a cemetery gates in a room in there.
They say how it's got room?
Oh yeah. They call it the burial pan corpse. So if they think they're bad and ignorant and stupid and think they're really, you make vaccine, and Mr. Timothy Harris, brother Timothy Harris, make vaccine, you stop there with all your ignorance. Stop there. See all who don't take, they still living longer than who not take. A lot of them just say, why you talk about vaccine every minute, every minute. You have to talk about it because it is the right thing and it is the right thing to say and do. Because if you don't hold your shield up, the enemy is going to bore you and kill you. And the shield of life is to take the vaccination to build up your immune system. So that when Mr. COVID come around and he touch on your skin and he feel solid skin, he gone somewhere else. But if you feel the skin weak, he say, ah boy, I get another one again, let me put him down. So it is good, people. Let's put away all the foolishness and the nonsense. Don't go abuse a government just because you want to get in office. Or you ain't get where you want. The last thing I'm going to say, I want to go in. Ungratefulness is worse than any kind of wickedness and witchcraft. Now you got some people come to you, Brother Mark, and they come to you with what you call a needed heart. They need sympathy. They ask you for a mango, you give them $20. But tomorrow now they go down the road and they meet somebody now who could give them 2 bowls of food for the day. And the person chatting real nonsense, nincompoop, ignorance. They're going to join with them just because they want the 2 bowls of food. And they're going to try to bring you down. You who give them the $20 when they ask for mango. They forget what you didn't have to do it. But because Christ in you, you know, you being generous to them and you give them more than what a mango costs. And they're going to be ungrateful. But you know what such people want? They want a red mouth and a fat foot. Who don't know what fat foot mean and a red mouth? let us study tonight. Anyway, I'll come back, Brother Mark.
All right, my brother.
Merry Christmas to Webo. And thank Webo for his station and all who does be on Webo station. Merry Christmas to them again. Webo, you are one of the top 5 radio talk show hosts in the world. I tell him so, but I don't think he like it. But I got to give him his credit. I'll come back, Brother Mark.
All right, my brother.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, I just got a message, and I'm so happy because through the power of the internet, I got a message here from the Liebert family. They're in the U.S. at the moment, and they've asked me to extend congratulations to Kelsey Liebert, who graduated from the Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, Arizona, summa cum laude, with a Bachelor of Science in Hospitality Management and a Bachelor of Science in Marketing and Advertising. So she had a double-barreled degree, and they want to thank the Nevis Island Administration and the families and friends for their support. And they said, which I agree, God is so good. And so I am truly, truly happy to congratulate Kelsey. Kelsey, congratulations to you and the entire family. I know that your dad is smiling. I know that he's smiling and he's proud. And so congratulations to you. And I know your mom, always your biggest fan, Jennifer. Congratulations to the entire family. Let me also big up Cheslin Maloney of Bart Village, from a young man I think is going to do amazing things here on the island of Nevis, and his entire family. His mom, I know how proud she is of him, and his grandma, I know how proud she is of him as well. And I just want to wish them all the very best and wish young Cheslin all the very best, and really to congratulate all the graduates, all of those who are graduating and who have graduated and who continue to do extremely well and who have really put in the effort and have now reaped that reward. Please treat your degree as a ticket into the game of life. That for me is important. Do not treat your degree as that you have arrived, because all really it is that it is giving you now an opportunity to go out and to make your mark. And so I congratulate all of the young people who continue to make their families and our island proud. It is 22 minutes past the hour. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I would just like to send season's greetings to my family in Nevis.
Yes, go ahead.
In Brown Hill, that's like Gail, Chevy. I'm calling from St. Eustatius.
Wonderful.
Simmons.
Go ahead, we're listening to you.
And I'll also like to greet you, Mark. All the best for the season is coming from all of us here on station.
Well, that is so kind of you. Thank you very, very much for that wonderful greeting. And I trust and hope that all of you on station are doing well.
Yes, we are.
And you're staying safe, I hope.
Yes.
All right, all right. Well, thank you very much for your greeting, and I want to wish you as well a wonderful holiday season and all the very best to you and your family.
Yes. You take care, cuz.
Okay. Thank you. God bless.
Okay, you too. Bye.
All right. Okay, bye-bye. All right, so we're getting messages from individuals who are saying that they're listening, and you know, people are tuned in from all across the region, it appears. I'm really happy to see that. And to those who are tuned in, particularly those in our fellow Caribbean islands, I want to say a special good evening. And I hope that you're staying safe and that everything is going well with you. We are sticking with the phones and we continue to take calls, so let's go back. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yeah, put them up.
Yes.
Come back again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, over the years, when one applies for a job, the application form, whether it's a job or a passport, whatever, the application form has on the extreme left top, they have on first name, a line, and you have underneath first name. And in the middle, they have middle initial. And at the extreme right, they have last name. Now, what does that tell you? That doesn't tell you, well, my name is Vincent, which is the first name. I spell Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
And the middle initial for Roberto is R. They didn't say middle name, they say middle initial.
Mm-hmm.
So I put the R. And then on the end, extreme right, I put Benjamin. Now, yesterday, my wife went to the bank to change a check for me.
Mm.
And when she went there was a new teller come giving my wife some trouble, telling, you know, must get back check and let me sign my middle name. So my wife tell her, hello, no. It's years now I've been coming here with the check, with his signature, something like that. Vincent R. Benjamin. So the wife did what was right and best for she to do. She went to the head.
Mm-hmm.
And then the head went and he called the person and he explained to him what is what. And then she processed the check. Now I want to say this. She got subjects, you know. But subjects come behind common sense. Because some people get job because they got 15 and 21 subjects.
Mm.
But you got your little subject and you ain't got not a trade. You still have to go to the carpenter to build your house. And we all subject them. Where is the common sense for she to look at the word and the middle initial? So I mean, subject is just to give you a job. Just to give you a job. And they must not put subject in front and try to keep down somebody else who they feel ain't have no subject like them.
Mm-hmm.
So I am calling on all those people who just get a job and you fresh out of school, college or whatsoever it is. You're supposed to know better than that. Read what is in front of you carefully and follow the instructions of the application. So I said, let me call you and tell you about Jada illustration to you, since it's fresh in my mind.
All right, my brother.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
All right, thanks a lot for that.
Yes, okay.
All right, as we continue to take calls at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700, let me just comment for a moment on the fact that this Christmas, the public servants in St. Kitts and Nevis, including those who work for statutory corporations, have been afforded the opportunity to benefit from a double salary. The Prime Minister would have made that announcement when he read his budget address on Tuesday the 14th of December. And I was advised on my way here by our Financial Secretary in Nevis, our PS Finance, Mr. Colin Dorr, that payments have already been credited to our public servants since yesterday. I would wish to thank the Honorable Prime Minister and the Cabinet in St. Kitts, of which I am a part, for really affording this double salary to public servants, and of course for the funding of this salary, which would have come from the proceeds of the Citizenship by Investment program. I feel that the combination of this with, of course, the extension of the income relief program and the various incentive programs that we've put in place to assist persons who require assistance. As the economy now starts, we hope to turn the corner from this long dark night of COVID, and as our people now go back to work and we are seeing a resurgence in hope and economic activity on the island and in the country, I think that this was, in the circumstances, a very welcomed initiative for many. And we had a very robust debate, and I know that there's been a robust debate in the public square as to whether this should have been done, how it should have been done. But as I said, I'm content that ultimately the decision not only to grant public servants a double salary, but also to extend the various programs for those who are not public servants but who need the assistance, I believe that that was, on balance, a good thing to have done. I reflect as well that many of the public servants would have gone out and arguably would have spent a bit more in the local economy because they had this additional income. Many of the public servants are in their households the sole breadwinner because due to the nature of COVID and people being laid off, many households who have more than one public servant would have got those additional income to come in. And so on balance, this was a gesture that I believe was well received, certainly by those who were the recipients of this additional payment. I reflected in something, in fact, I posted on social media, that through the CCM's participation in the Team Unity government, we have now been able to deliver, in the past 7 years, 5 double salaries to the public servants in Nevis. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not just when an election is coming, as was the position in the past, but consistently, once the performance economically and the performance in terms of revenue achieved that, we were able to pass on some of that to the public servants, and through that mechanism to their families and to the wider economy. And I really think that that is a remarkable achievement, particularly given the pressures of COVID and given the exigencies that we've had to deal with, that we have been able to offer our public servants yet again a double salary at this crucial time. I continue to do what I always do, is to ask people to be prudent with their spending and to do what our old grandparents taught us to do, to put away a penny sometimes for a rainy day. And that is always important, that we do not just go out and spend it all. Although spending helps the economy, we must always exercise that personal responsibility that allows us to know that even in biblical times we were told that in the years of plenty you saved up grain for any years of famine that might come. And so I continue to encourage our people to be sensible about what we do. We continue to take your calls and we go straight back to the phone. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
And how are you?
I am doing well. Good to hear your voice. How are you?
I'm not bad, and
Yes.
Merry Christmas to you and the family when it comes.
Thank you very much, and the same is wished to you and your family.
Thank you. Yeah, I was very impressed with the presentation in the Parliament during the budget debates. Highly informative. I learned a lot about the role of the Minister of Foreign Affairs from what you said.
Thank you.
Yeah. The other thing, you just informed me of something else a while ago. I was wondering where all this money came from for the double salary, because I know this year 2021 was a rough year financially, economically for the Federation. So when you told me that you suspect, or you know it would have come from the citizenship by investment, I said, oh, that's how it is.
Well, but when you think about it, caller, we have been able at the federal level to announce a surplus in circumstances where the Marriott was still closed, the hotel sector was still largely closed, the cruise sector had just started back a month ago, and really is nowhere near the levels where it is usually. Our people clearly were out of work. you understand that it clearly was this spectacular performance of the CBI
Yes.
that really allowed us to have that cushion.
That's
And
why we rated #1 in the world.
Exactly. And-
Something though, as a result of that, when the Prime Minister mentioned the double salary, and my not knowing where the money was coming from, I sent him a quick note, humorously of course, asking him if he was walking up, and he responded in a laughing manner, because I said, "What is it? Other countries in the Caribbean gone to the IMF to borrow money and that kind of thing, and we paid double salary. Something got to be wrong here, man. Our Prime Minister went Haiti and come back or something, and it's not." But I'm glad to hear that the citizenship by investment is doing that well, that we could afford to be paid double salaries during a guava period like 2021.
Yeah, well, certainly I think we're all happy that the public servants can benefit, and we continue to look forward to the benefits flowing across the entire country from the CBI program. So, definitely, thank you very much for that, and I wish you and the family all the very best for Christmas.
And before you run,
Yes.
how was that Taiwanese exhibition at the Malcolm Gishard Park?
Well, it from all accounts, it went very well. The people have been flowing through on a daily basis. I'm told there's a large volume of persons flowing through. So I am hopeful that the purpose of the exhibition is realized, which is really to generate greater trading between Taiwan and St. Kitts and Nevis. So that is my hope. So let us pray that materializes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay.
Have a good night.
All right. Good. Well, I just got a message here from my friend Charlie. Charlie, he has asked me to big up his daughter. I hope I pronounce it right. Urvical. Urvichal. I think it's Urvical. His daughter Urvical was graduated with a master's degree in accounting, summa cum laude. And you know what the part that I love? He said, "Daddy, Charlie is proud of you." So Charlie, to you and the entire family, and to Urvical, congratulations on graduating with a master's in accounting, summa cum laude. Somebody bother with the magna cum laude now is summa. That is a higher level. And so congratulations, definitely, Charlie. I know you're proud. So I love that you have reached out to me and asked me to extend to your daughter your congratulations. And so we're very happy for that, and we pray and hope that continues. And then I am getting greetings here from the Phillip family all the way in Villarica, Georgia, wishing me and my family and the Greater Nevis a blessed and safe holiday season. They are boosted. I love that. The whole family is boosted. So from the Phillip family in Villarica, Georgia, to Ursula and the whole team, oh, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for the greetings. I am truly, truly touched and honored that you would remember me to send this beautiful greetings, and I read it now on air. So I just want people to know that we are being followed all around the world, and people are really reaching out. So praise be to God for that. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening. You're on the mark. Good evening to you.
Good night.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Yes, good night, ma'am. Yes, now first I want to commend you and your leadership of the Premier for Nevis. I believe you're doing a wonderful job, and you continue to do a good job. And I want to wish you and your cabinet a happy Christmas when it comes, and a most prosperous New Year. And I want to wish the Prime Minister also, with his team unity government, I want to wish everyone a blessed Merry Christmas when it comes, and a most prosperous New Year. Brother Mark, well, I don't know how you are get this too, but I believe that the Father got a hand in this. Really got a hand in this, Brother Mark. Because in all over the world, you hear the situation, countries closing back down, and people are dying still from this deadly COVID. And you all manage this thing very well. The federal government and the cabinet and the task force and everybody come together and trying to work with the ordinary man and woman in this federation to do what they got to do to keep from this deadly COVID, from prevent us from killing most of us. 28 done dead, but still, that we still got to be careful with the mask. Because I hear the next wave, the fourth one coming, and I don't know how deadly it be, if it deadly Delta. But we know that we got to stick by our protocol and do what we got to do, and try our best to be our brothers and sisters keeper. Because only so we can survive. With the negative thing and all the thing we bang about out here, we know that there is a position and we know people can criticize because no man perfect, you all are not God. You all ain't God. And you all just trying you all endeavor best to do what you all do because we let either put us to work. And you are doing your best that you can do for the country and for the people. You understand? So no mind in themselves then, they will always start. But God by listening to the people, and we say, as we said, that think it and leave it, and 98% literate, and the people are showing, especially going and taking the vaccine. Because the vaccine is the only way out of the deadly situation of this COVID. The vaccine helps your immune system. You fight it, no matter what people might say. But Mark, I want to wish the Federation of Think It Anyway a most happy Christmas when it comes to, and a most first New Year. And I want to wish everybody a wonderful season. But Mark, you have a wonderful night. God bless the Federation of Think It Anyway. God bless.
Okay, my brother, and thank you, and God bless you as well, and season's greetings to you also.
Yeah, man.
All right, as we spoke about CBI, and as we wait for the phones to ring, we'll continue to take calls as they come in. I just wanted to end the year, end the final show by recounting the fact to the public that through the efforts of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that St. Kitts and Nevis's passport has jumped to #1 in the Caribbean region. I feel very, very proud of that. It was a task that had been set for me by the cabinet and for the team that I lead. I would want to thank all of our ambassadors for their excellent efforts in getting us to this milestone. I think it is a matter of tremendous pride that St. Kitts and Nevis in the last 6.5 years have added some 30 countries to the list of visa-free countries to which we can travel. We have also added some 43 new countries with which we have diplomatic relations. And it was only a week ago, in fact it was last week, Wednesday, that our ambassador in New York would have signed a visa-free agreement, with the country of Sao Tome and Principe, which is an African country, and that we can now travel there and they can now travel to us without a visa for what we call short stays, for holidays. Now hitherto, St. Kitts and Nevis were on the Henley and Partners Passport Index, which measures the strength of passports globally. We were at 26th in the world. We were at 26th in the world because our passport could access 157 countries without a visa, or what they call visa upon arrival. Ahead of us were Israel and Mexico, two major countries in the world. They were at position number 25, and they could access 158 countries globally with their passport. Barbados was in #1 position in the Caribbean and number 24th in the world at 161 countries that Barbados could access. Well, when I was in Serbia, I moved our tally from 157 with the state of Palestine, 158 with Burkina Faso in Africa, 159, and with, what was the other country? Gabon in Africa, 160. And with Sao Tome and Principe now, we have leapfrogged over Mexico and Israel, and we are now level as number 1 in the region and number 24th in the world with Barbados. And I feel that that is a tremendous achievement for the country of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I'm really proud as Foreign Minister to have achieved this. I think it's a significant milestone that we now have the number 1 passport in the region, and that says a lot. Our main competitors in terms of citizenship by investment, the closest is Antigua and Barbuda, and Antigua and Barbuda, I believe, on that same index were some 11 countries behind us. So I think they can access some 150 countries. We're at 161. So that speaks volumes to where we are, the appeal and mobility of our passport. And it says why, in part, our CBI program is so successful, because people know that they get in citizenship that really is tremendously valuable internationally. Let me go back to the phones. Do we still have somebody holding? Let's go back. Good evening, you're on the mark. The phones, do we still have somebody holding? Hello? Go back. Good evening, you're on the mark. The phones, do we still have somebody holding? Hello? Hello? Okay, Ken, that caller isn't listening to us. It has the computer running over and over. So, caller, please call back in. When you call in, please move away from your computer or your radio and call and just listen to me talk to you. If you listen through the system, whether it's computer or radio, you will have a delay. Let's try again. Good evening, you're on the mark. Okay, we've lost that caller. Caller 869-469-1616 or 869-469-1700. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yeah, Max, how did I disturb you again?
No, you're not disturbing at all.
But you have one big challenge to get visa-free access added to the number of countries to our passport. That is a country called Canada.
Yes, I'm listening to you.
Yeah, I'm saying you have a big task. We're waiting on you to tell us one of these days that Canada is once again a visa-free country as far as our passport is concerned. How are we doing with Canada?
Well, the truth be told, that we have made tremendous effort on our part. We have, in fact, as you know, the Prime Minister of Canada holidayed here in Nevis a few years ago.
Yes.
And both the Prime Minister and I would have engaged with him here. We have also had the opportunity to engage with him on other occasions. The Prime Minister would have traveled to Canada and engaged with him. I would have engaged with the Foreign Minister of Canada. I would have engaged with the Minister of Immigration. And I thought we had good momentum. The problem has been multifaceted. One, COVID has intervened over the last 2 years.
Yes.
And so it has slowed any kind of meaningful engagement on these matters because everybody was preoccupied with COVID. Two, prior to that, we had a frequent changing of the guard in Canada. Canada has had a number of elections in the last few years.
Yeah.
And each time they've had an election, they've changed the foreign minister. So the problem that I have had is that when I thought I was developing a relationship with one foreign minister, for example, an election is called or Prime Minister Trudeau has reshuffled and then you suddenly have a new person.
Yeah, you have to build a new relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With sort of new perspectives, and you have now, it has really been difficult, I confess, because every time we say, all right, we have the measure of who's there, we have engaged with who's there, and that person, we are on their radar for this issue, the person is changed. And so that new person might have new priorities. So that has also been exceedingly difficult. But I can say to you and to the public that we have not given up hope. We have done everything that Canada asked of us. Because remember, Canada removed our visa-free access for certain specific reasons.
I have a good... I know nobody has told me, but I believe I know what the reasons are.
Right. Well, they removed for very specific reasons. And we have fixed all of those reasons. One of the reasons that they identified, they said there were weaknesses in our citizenship by investment program.
Yeah.
And that perhaps bad actors were getting in. And we were able to fix that. We did a top to bottom review. We now have a program which is referred to as a platinum standard because of the due diligence. It's the highest level of due diligence anywhere in the world that is applied to the St. Kitts Nevis CBI program.
Yes,
and so the truth be told that we have not only met but exceeded the controls and the safeguards that Canada was required.
Yes, yes.
And so really now it is in Canada's court to say to us, well, all right, you have satisfied us, and you're therefore welcome to come back to the fold of countries that can access visa-free. And so we continue to hope that that will happen. We continue to hope that the government there settles down and that we can engage in a meaningful way with Canada moving forward. As you know, Canada has been one of our oldest friends.
That is so true.
And it was really a sad day for St. Kitts and Nevis when we lost our ability to access Canada visa-free. I will say this last thing, however, is that as wonderful as it may be to get Canada back, we did not sit down when Canada left. And as I said, I've added 30 countries, many in Africa.
Made you work harder.
Well, it made us work harder, yes, but it also told us that, listen, we must look beyond the traditional friends and partners. We must look to new friends and new partners. And the mandate that I've always had from the Cabinet is to deepen relationships with existing friends, but to expand our range and to seek to have new relationships with new friends. And that is why you see us now engaging with countries like Russia. Do you know, for example, that with a St. Kitts Nevis passport you can go to Russia without a visa?
I understand that.
Yes, but
confirmed it last week in your presentation.
But with a U.S. visa, with a U.S. passport, you cannot access Russia without a visa.
Okay.
So I have Americans saying to me that if they want to go to Russia, having a St. Kitts Nevis passport makes travel seamless for them.
Yes.
But if they have the American passport, they need a visa. So my thing is that we have not rested. We will continue to press on Canada, but we are not only relying on Canada anymore. We are expanding our range and looking to other countries as well.
But that Russian thing, though, is interesting, because I remember years ago there was this international embargo against Iran. And I have a feeling that a lot of Iranians were using Kittitian passports to get into Canada, which they should not have been doing. And I think that is where, I believe, I could be very wrong, I think that is where we lost our visa, because we also became a partner to bad actors.
Well, that, of course, has always been the problem, and that is where the situation disintegrated. But what I will say is that, you know, thankfully we have gone beyond that, and, you know, we are now at a stage where we have solved those problems and are moving forward.
Okay. We must say thanks to Denzel. We no longer can just jump on a plane and go to Canada, but never mind. Anyhow, continue your show. Interesting.
Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we continue to take your calls. We have about 10 minutes left. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yeah, Mark, good day again.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, Mark, you know, the double salary is paid, and, you know, that is government workers, all working for government, going to get the double salary. We know that teachers, nurses, police, the army, security forces work very hard in the government, those in the electricity department and those in the water department and everything work very hard. And to be truthful, they deserve something. We know that some people working for government, we know that we know sometimes they don't do the work honestly. Some of them don't show up on the work. And I believe that some of them don't deserve the double salary. But because of the situation and because of other people who perform so good, the Prime Minister and the Cabinet come together and allow the people who work hard for the government to get a double salary. There's nothing wrong with that. But you got some people who work in the private sector and who work in entrepreneur by themselves. Some people never contribute to social security. I hear one person on the radio contribute very little to social security. When they get what they get, they just get a handout. Went all in different countries and work and they contribute nothing there. I don't know what they were doing. You understand? And they and different radio talk shows saying that the government should have paid everybody $500 in the country. The government should have paid everybody $500. You understand? When people don't waste the time and then nearly 70 years and, you know, just trying to fight life in the last moment of their life, just trying to fight life and trying to work with you in business and all these things. But I call in other people, young men and women, who out there, whether you're working for yourself Try to pay your social security. Try to put something aside. Because we don't know how we can end up in life. Sometimes we don't know the situation. You make the children, you got grandchildren or whatever. And because of you saving or doing something positive, then grandchildren could benefit something or whatever. You understand? You don't live like crazy randomly. Going to different countries and then, you know, do different things and then come back and then come back to your country and then abusing, the cussing people. National, who from here, could contribute to social security and getting the social and getting whatever they're getting. You company are going to cost them. So they're getting this and they're getting that. Then they contribute to the economy. Some of these people come in and build the economy. Look at the market right now. I said Diane is 10 white cut sugar cane with. When white cut sugar cane with Mark, I see him heading anything them in the market, I got pick up. Heading in truck with a thing them in the market. You understand? And people like them who criticize. In the late stage of the life, fighting youth, fighting young people, talking out of the nonsense, go government must see everybody $500. Better Mark again, continuation, yeah?
Thank you very much, brother. I really appreciate it. You know, we all make a contribution, and I do not believe in this notion that we ought to denigrate anybody's contribution. There is a section of our population that continues to attack non-nationals. And I see non-nationals as making a contribution to our development. The same way that we have gone to other people's countries to make a contribution to their development. You know how many of us living in America? I had some friends who were recently here from the Washington, D.C., Maryland, that area. And all of them are professionals, and where they live, where they're making a contribution. America. They're not here. So sometimes I say to our people here, when you lash out at non-nationals, remember where your brother and sister and your cousin and your auntie and your uncle live. And remember, I am 52 years old. And I have told this story a million times where as boys in Brownhill, as children, we used to stay on my mother's porch and watch the trucks going into Brownhill with the barrels at Christmas time. It doesn't happen the same way now. But this was the way that we were sustained, because our families in the Virgin Islands and our families in America sent home stuff for us. You know how much winter sweater I don't wear in the hot sun in Nevis? Winter sweater, I got it, but I was the most fashionable youngster because my father sent a barrel, and the barrel having winter clothes, you put them on, what you mean? And you feel good, you feel like you're the hottest thing since sliced bread because you have a new sweater. Hot like nothing. But that was our existence, and I find that a lot of people have forgotten or chosen to forget where we have come from. The same way a man comes here to try and better his life and send a little money back to Guyana or send a little money back to Jamaica or send a little money back to wherever, the Dominican Republic. He has come to try and find something better. We went to other people's place to find something better. Go down to St. John right now, you see what Nevis people live down there. Go to St. Thomas. Go to St. Croix. Go to St. Martin, Anguilla. You see the ton load of Nevisians who live down there, who have made a life for themselves. Well, Lord, if they could go, if we could go, well, why you have such a problem with people who come? And so I agree with you, caller. Let all who are willing to come, who are law-abiding, hear me now, who are law-abiding, who are hard-working and willing to contribute to our development, let them come and let them contribute. Just as our people have gone and contributed to other countries. That is the nature of life. And I see no difficulty with it, and that is why I don't join a soul to attack non-nationals. My father lived in foreign lands for over 40 years. And if it wasn't for the little check that used to come from America, I don't know what my mother and her 4 children would have done. And so I am not knocking a soul for trying to better their lives, because he was out there, we were able to eat here in Nevis. Used to go up to the shop there, Irvin Thompson. They used to call him OT. My mother used to send me, and we used to trust groceries. You hear about that? Young people don't know what trust means. You take it on credit. And when month end come and your father send you a little money, that's when you go and you pay Mr. Thompson. That's how we used to eat. What happened? Nevis people forget? We can't forget. Let us be charitable to people. Sometimes, you know, you entertain angels unaware. Remember that. Let's go back to the phones. You have anybody holding? Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hello?
Good evening.
Yes, I'm back again.
Yes.
Now, I shall agree with Mr. Bubbling in his phone. Is disturbing you?
Yes, we're not hearing you well at all. Hello? Okay, you'll have to call back. I think we've lost you. We have about 3 minutes left. The numbers again to call are 469-161. Let's go right back. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Okay, well, caller, we don't know what's happening with your phone.
I really don't want to put you.
No, that's not working for us at all. I don't know, it's like your phone catch corona. Caller, you need to go and get your phone that vaccine, okay, that booster. Because all night you're talking to me and we're doing a good job, and now your phone not working anymore. So I'm sorry about that. I don't know if you want to try again, but that is the position at this point. We have just 3 minutes. We can take another call or two. Let's try again. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yes, Mr. Brantley.
Yes.
Yes, very quickly. You know, I listened to one of the things, Mr. Politics, and he's so right, because, you know, I myself, I'm a foreigner. And you know, when you hear...
You're not a foreigner, man. You're a local now.
You're right. Yeah, and when you hear petitions, you know, attacking people like us, right, you know, it makes you feel bad. But one of the things Mr. Politics pointed out is that there's an individual who always come and attack foreigners, and that same individual was living in somebody else's country and now come back to St. Kitts and attacking foreigners. Let me repeat.
So
that individual was living in somebody else's country for years.
So you forget?
It's a female.
Huh?
And they are now attacking foreigners. Now come back home. Well, when I said now come back home, you know, a couple of years, you understand. But they were living in somebody else's country and they come back home now and attacking foreigners. That's my contribution tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. And I'm happy that you have said that, because it's a point that I was trying to make, but you made it far more eloquently. We really need to avoid this attack on our fellow man, because at the end of the day, we're all travelers on this road called life. And all we should try to do is to help each other. Help each other along. If Christmas is to mean anything to us, let it mean that we work together and we help each other. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. It's our final show for 2021. We will restart and come again, we hope, in January, if God spares our life. We thank all who have been a part of this journey thus far. We thank all for who have successfully contributed to us achieving another year here on the air on the mark. I would want to take the closing moments to wish each and every one of you a wonderful Christmas season and a bright and prosperous 2022. May God continue to bless you. May He continue to guide you. May His protection be upon you and your family, and may His face continue to shine upon you, and may His face continue to shine upon our island and upon our country. God bless you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And I look forward to being with you again in the new year. Thank you. Good night and God bless.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or